Hello, and welcome to our weekly astrological transits, our astrology weather of the week. And I have the map of the planets, of the stars, sun, moon, um, with the sun just before sunrise. I want to just kind of look at that. This would be for the East Coast, and this is 7:23 in the morning, and you can see that Mercury has risen just ahead of the sun. You can't see it because it's still so close to the sun. They were just, combust a week ago, a few days ago. But you can see here that it's this line here is the horizon. This is the horizon line. So here it's the sun is just about to rise, and let's just do minutes. Um, can see, oh, there it is. It's like what, right? 7:29. It just comes right over the horizon. See there, it's right there. Um, anyway, I thought that was kind of cool to see that. You just leave it on days. So anyway, um, if you are up in the morning around this time on the East Coast, or anything moving to the west, the sunrise time, you can also look and see the planets here, Venus and Jupiter, and they were just, when they were conjunct and they were really close together several weeks ago. Now you can see the distance between them. That Venus is now it's we've got a bigger distance here than we had. What I wanted to show you here. Let me just go back here, just see if we can watch them. See here, they're closer. Venus is speeding ahead in sign. This is the kind of the weird thing. But see here, it was August 12th. Okay, August 12th, see how they're both um, in Cancer here. This is kind of where Jupiter is now. Jupiter's not going to be moving that fast. So you'll just kind of note that degree and I'll move it ahead. See, so here's the conjunction. So if you saw it a month ago, they were right there together, in the morning sky. You can see that they're well enough away from the sun to be seen. And so was Mercury, actually. Mercury was far enough away to be seen um, better in certain horizons than others without chemtrailed skies. We could, of course, looking to the east and probably, being in the summer, it would be just north of east for the most part. Okay, so here's that. And I just want you to see these lights and how, this is really what's happening. This is not just on this screen, this is in the sky, and we can see these things. But here we watch, here the moon went over, rising that day. But here we can see them starting to separate. See, what's weird is it looks we're illustrating two motions right now. When we're looking at this chart, we're seeing the motion of the day and night, by things rising and setting. But then we're also seeing things move through signs, so they're going to look opposite. Okay, so that's why we see it kind of doing that. But um, you'll see these getting further apart. See that what they were at, like what, 14 Cancer, right? And then here's Venus at 0 Leo. We know that that's after Cancer. So if we keep watching that, see now it's 9 a week later, about a week ago. And then today on the 7th, see now we're at 17 degrees, and we can see this distance in the morning. They're getting farther apart. So, what's happening is Venus is moving forward in sign. It's moving further into Leo, and then as it moves through Leo, it'll get, into Virgo, and it'll be coming this way. All right, just wanted to note that. So these are just some easy things to look in the sky and to see things that are going on. Like at the full moon, you will see the full moon rise at sunset, pretty much, right? So these are certain things that we see. Okay, so coming into this week, I wanted to just point that out because it is important to kind of see the astronomy and the astrology, the astronomy in the sky, what is happening. And just one other thing about that, when the planets are moving around the sun, they get closer to Earth and farther away. You're getting sometimes closer to the sun and farther away, depending on if it's an interior or exterior planet. So that means if it's Venus and Mercury, they're close to this, they're between the sun and Earth. They're on the, like, say, the inside of that orbit, where Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune and Pluto, whatever, Saturn, did I get them? Are all on the outside of Earth's orbit, further out. So they make slightly different patterns, but what this is it's resonance. And, if a planet is closer to Earth or farther from Earth, or if there's other planets in the way, you can think about, like, how does astrology work? I mean, there's many ways, but for me to understand, it's like it's all resonance and light and frequency. So think about this. Um, if you're standing in a room, listening to a concert, and there's the big speakers, okay, blasting some sound out, um, or whatever, or say you're in your living room, and there's, you have your speakers and you're listening to your stereo or whatever, and somebody walks between the speaker and you, it's going to sound different. Right? Of course. If you've got a fan right underneath that speaker, it might make it sound a little different. But just the point of just somebody walking, and if you have a thin person as opposed to a big, thick person, that sound is going to change, because that body is between you and the speaker, that source. So, the planet is a source of energy. It's a source of frequency. And when another planet comes between it, or those change, then we have those frequencies, that's still there, but it's changed. If you look at the light spectrum, you'll see, if you just look at the spectrum of light, you'll see um, a whole, you'll see um, infrared, red, infrared, and then the light spectrum, and then you see, the ultraviolet, violet, ultraviolet, and you get this a difference in light frequencies. So those, if you even just think about infrared and ultraviolet, they're on the other ends, and they're different. So if it's a sun is blocking, or if a planet or something is blocking um, an energy, it's going to cut off some of those energies. And now we're finding out more about a lot of those frequencies and how that works. So these are huge bodies in the sky, and being in part of our gravitational, our solar system, is what makes it unique, and that's how this is. So how this I'm reading the mundane, which is kind of like for everybody, but the degrees you have to take into account on your own chart, because it's like the resonant tuning of, say, like, you've probably heard different things, like, well, like if somebody sings at a certain note and you hit a certain note vibrating, it's not maybe any E or G, it's a high G or a high A or whatever it is. It's like a certain amount of frequency cycles per second that will make that glass vibrate to break it. I know, I play bass, and whenever, a lot of times, oh, just different notes. Like I notice E, when I hit my low E string, certain objects in the room, things on the wall will resonate and move. And other times, like the B, always makes a lot of things in my house resonate. So it's like certain things buzz, and it's like so funny. Um, but anyway, that's how it affects us. We resonate. It's like, why did that hanging, why did that mirror hanging on the wall resonate at the B and not the E? It's like, why does this affect my husband and not me, or me? So this is why this works. But we don't just have one thing. We don't just have one person walking in front of that speaker kind of thing. We've got a bunch of things, and they're all at slightly varying angles. Okay. And this is not, this is looking just kind of flat. We do kind of have declination as well, which is just a slightly a different movement altogether. But anyway, it's just think about it as a degree of filter. So yeah, and I'm showing you here, they call it the Ptolemaic aspects, the major ones, the square, the conjunction, the opposition, the trine, the sextile. I like to get into the inconjuncts, that we call the 150, that angle, quincunx. But there's also a lot of other minor, intense angles that I don't go into when I work with people individually. I do, but those minor angles, like those half squares and squares and a half, are sometimes really annoying too. And when you're looking at things, it's nice to know about those, etc. So it's just mathematical relationships. Okay, so enough of that, but that's sometimes really interesting to know some different things, how all of this works. So coming into today, we had this nice, interesting, it came off of our full moon. We had the Pisces full moon, very nice, very sweet, um, vague, kind of spacey, energy. And now that we kind of went through that, and then we hit into the Aries, the moon in the beginning of the week. Aries, we're just into it, right in the middle of it now. That's that. That's that. Let's get going. Let's do it. Let's get pedal to the metal. I got the energy for it. Let's go. Come on. So we have that impetuous, that let's get it done, that drives, kind of, that we're kind of coming into that today. It might have been a slow wake up to it. Sometimes you just hit that alarm clock, but then it should be the Aries moon should be hitting you now. Kind of, it's like the copy is taking effect. Um, anyway, the alarm clock has been ringing. So coming into that Aries moon, when the moon, it had to first go over Neptune. So I think that's what kind of slows it down. It says, oh, just hit the alarm bell. Let's go back to sleep a little bit, and then it finally gets shakes free of that, and it wants to be up and out. It's hard to keep that Aries energy down. So coming into that, but then, it also, we have to look at the cardinal signs. So we kind of look around and we see, Jupiter and with at Cancer, and then we see Mars in Libra. So we see that, oh, they're like later degrees, 19 and 21. So we know that as the moon moves on, it's going to be making square over to the Cancer Jupiter and an opposition over to Mars. So we could expect just a little testiness within this next day, a day and a half here. We get Jupiter wants to expand, and that Mars is like, no, that's a little bit too much. It's over the top. You're talking too much. You're expending too much. You're overextending. You want to be home too much. You want to be with the family, with the kids, or so all Cancerian stuff. The moon is like, no, no, no. Let's just curb some of that. It's like you already did that. Let's go. And then it's also in opposition over to Mars. So there's something about, Mars, you know, would rather be where the moon is at. The moon probably wouldn't mind being where that is, but where Mars is. But actually, the moon would rather be where Jupiter is. So, everybody wants to be where somebody else. Jupiter's happy, but the other two kind of want to be like where different positions. So it's just kind of a testy spot. Mars, is tired, getting tired of being diplomatic. I think the energy is gonna be a little better for Mars and your driving energy, because Mars is gonna be like, good, at least I can get going in the car or something with my moon friend, and yeah, I've been tired here of being all diplomatic. I gotta get out of the suit and tie. I gotta get out of the pantyhose. I gotta get out of this dress. I gotta get out of this tight bra. I gotta break these kind of, the way and looking nice. And, I gotta do something like that. So there's a little bit of that restlessness um, in the next day and a half, I think. So put that into positive things. Aries likes to be positive. So just, how can it be better than this? How can I put this the most positive, enlightening thing? Okay, as we move on, let's see, anything else today? That was mainly that. Let it moon coming into the moon aspects. We have stuff cooking. We can see these degrees. We've got the sun. Did it just we go back? Okay, so today, sun is also, this was part of the eclipse, but it's like actually going to go over the south node now. We've got sun, right on at 17 degrees in Virgo. And then tomorrow, it's like right now as we're speaking, so some of that Aries energy we can use, the sun energy, as we're going over the South Node, Virgo. We've talked about this. This is great for getting rid of things you don't need. It's not serving your purpose. It's getting rid of it. Clean, just stuff people have given you, stuff just piling in the drawers. Sometimes getting rid of things is not so much emotional, but it's energy to get rid of it. It's like, oh God, now I got to go take that stuff, find boxes, put it out, get rid of it, find somebody that wants it, or it's like that part of it. Well, this Virgo and this Aries moon, I think, will definitely put that to work. Because we got that quincunx of type energy, but that's where that I think can get along. It's like that impetuousness of that Aries. Um, it's not emotional, and then the Virgo is not emotional, and that South Node, it's like you can get rid of it, you can let it go, but just be careful you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. There may be some things of value or something that you just might diss. It's like just because you don't want it right now, it might be you wish you hadn't of. So just just think about it. But most stuff we really don't need. So I'm almost in the side of if it's not serving you a lot of purpose, um, why keep it? If you have the energy to get rid of it, if it's not for you. And that's like clothes, colors, uh, the way the light comes in your room, moving your furniture even sometimes, reorienting your furniture, sometimes the way you sleep. I would definitely always sleuth out and make sure that I'm eliminating as much electromagnetic fields as possible. That's my first concern. But other than that, sometimes a change in direction, when you're sleeping, maybe you get off of certain geomagnetic path or ley lines and lines that you've been on for a while, especially if you've been in the same place for a long time around the same bed, same orientation. Maybe good to do that now. Okay, Wednesday. Well, we talked about that. Okay, so the moon is it clears all that stuff, then it moves into kind of cushy Taurus. So then it's like, okay, now I can kind of relax, maybe. Um, but it likes a little bit more creature comforts, a little bit more security. It might feel, good to, use that energy to clear stuff out. And then now maybe pay attention to the home. It's like, okay, now I cleared that out. Now I can paint that wall, or now I can put up that shelf or something like that. Now I can put that lock in place and get my security. Or now I get my pantry or something that feels homey and secure like that. Um, the moon is going to, hit up against, well, let's see, let's look at just first of all the fixed signs. Let's get that out of the way. So fixed to fixed. So it's going to square over, during its passage through Taurus over to Venus. So there could be a little bit of a drama, a security issue. And then again, you can look at where these are in your chart. Like say this is your chart. It would be something to do with eighth house stuff and it's the 11th house stuff here with this person, all right? So this would be maybe there's a riff about you're using my stuff, you didn't put it back. Yeah, anyway, so this is kind of the issues of where you can kind of see how these are. You got to think in many planes. You got to think in many levels at the same time. Um, but anyway, there's a lot of good things that help people train on that. So let's keep looking on. Okay, well, let's just go by sign. Okay, so it's going to make nicey over with Jupiter because we have both feminine, right? This will be like sextile. I'm just backing up a little bit here. So it's going to nicey over here, feel good, expand. This might talk yourself into indulgences, but then Venus over here, Venus value squaring is going to go, well, you really can't afford that. And then it moves on over into Virgo, which it's now trining the moon. Moon trines all of this stuff, which adds to that earthiness, but it's also going to be a little bit more, I would say, on the side with the Venus. It's going to go like, well, the accounting and how much you're making, and you really need to get rid of it. And this is not serving you new purpose, so it kind of talks you out of it. So just watch that. But because Jupiter wants to expand, it's feeling good here. It may just be helping you weigh things. Okay, it might just be a good weighing it back and forth. And then we got Mars over there in Libra going, hey, I can help, I can help. Uh, so anyway, the moon is kind of not out in sorts with that. So it will be going through these, and then it'll right away, it already did, when it moves first into the sign, it has to contend with Pluto. I just was going around this way because it was easy, but you really look at the degrees, where it's going to make things aspects. But anyway, Moon with Pluto is also right away when it moves into Taurus. Could be a little deep. Moon and Pluto aspects always, I don't want to say creep me out, but they kind of are just like the hairs come up on my neck. It just seems a little, like um emotions and depth and plutonic things just kind of, it's like you want to keep certain people away from other people, kind of. It's like I don't want my sweet little daughter going over to uh, their house. There's too many boys there or something like that. They're older and they're rough. Yeah, no, 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 I don't feel good about that. So just stuff like that that kind of, your hair prickles. So anyway, and then being in a tense aspect, things could come up. Somebody could ask you a deep question you're not ready for, you don't want to answer. It could test your emotional reserve. Yeah. Anyway, so that kind of comes up, but then it moves off quickly, so which is good. All right, moving into, did it skip a day? Yeah, Thursday. Thursday just maybe more moon aspects, as the moon is going through Taurus. Yeah, no, we were there. Yeah, moon's going through Taurus. And then as it gets closer to, the end of the sign, what was I going to say? Anything else here? It's going to, as it moves into Gemini, no, I'll go past it. Yeah. Okay, so as it moves Friday, Saturday, let me just go by hours because then, well, it'll go right over Uranus. There we go. So Friday in the after late or in the early evening, at least this is East Coast. I'm talking about I can adjust it, but Friday in the early evening we have the moon and Uranus. I think this is can be kind of an interesting emotional time, as it just hits into that, it's going to be a change from that Taurus feeling. It's going to be definitely, electrical, stimulating, um, really busy. Um, you could get ungrounded. Make sure maybe you keep yourself grounded during this day, as coming into, Friday as we're coming into that, because I think it's easy to get frazzled. It's also Friday, the end of the week, wanting to do the weekend, making things, get done. You could be real forgetful, again, frayed at the ends. So, making sure you get your salt water, your seaweed, grounding, stepping on the earth, eating maybe some dense cooked foods, root vegetables, slow cooked things, meats, things that are grounding to you. Salt, Epsom salt baths, things like that will help ground this energy. I think it could be kind of a wild time, wild day. I'm going to put these back over here. During the day, these here. During the day on Friday, though, we've got a really nice sun. Darn it, I wanted to go back. There it is. Ah, looks like what a difference an hour makes. Okay. We got a really, it's kind of like late Thursday coming into Friday. We've got a really nice um, sun sextile with Jupiter. Both feminine signs. We've got a water sign and an earth sign. This makes things grow. Um, it's really nice with the sun there with Mercury. Um, it's gone over the south node, so it's all it could be just a little over analyzing, a little nitpicky, a little bit self-critical, um, smug like that because of that Virgo energy and all of that there, and especially with Mercury there. Mercury is exalted there, so it loves it. So sometimes things get it's like you laugh at a little kid's joke, and then they tell it to you again. They're ready to write the next thing because they want that laugh again. It can be kind of like that, It's like, okay, you just did that already. So just be careful about being over the top and pushy and wanting your way too much on that. Yeah, okay, because again, we're coming in with that moon, unpredictable. Gemini, not thinking about a lot of things and repercussions, just like so in the moment, so curious. So that's just a little bit of that kind of, we get that trining energy. Moon's going to move out, and then we're going to get into not trining energy. I mean, getting into that electrical energy there because it's all I'd say kind of mercurial, mercurial energy. We do have it's going to set up a 10th square because of the that uh, mutable quality to this. Right, I mean, it's bugging me. It's right there. On it there. All right. So when the moon's actually there, when it's in Gemini, then we have that square energy coming on. So we've got that unpredictability of moon. This is again Friday with Gemini, that does electrical stuff. And then that again is mutable, and then it's over making aspects to South Node, Mercury, and Sun. So identity, and then with all the South Node in Virgo there's what I mean, like the smugness. Yeah, that's like your karmic past. Yeah, I know I'm good at that. Yeah, I've done that. Uh-huh. But I think it's like part of the cleaning out of stuff. It's like what of that is still useful to you, and what do you need to discard of that we all have. All right, coming into Saturday. That's everything else on Friday. Yeah, pretty much there. So Saturday, we got the conjunction there. Sun, well, it just went over it. Sun and Mercury. We just had it just coming into, the late in the day on Friday. It just depends on where you are. So we have all that energy wrapped up there. So it's in Kazemi. It's passing that. It was retrograde not too long ago. Um, Now it's catching up to and getting ahead of the sun. All right, let's see what else here. So, okay, yeah, one other thing with when we have the sun and Mercury together, it really, they fuse together. So it's like the information that you're exuding is coming from you. It is your personality. It is what you believe. It is your essence coming out. And if you have anything in Virgo, it's going to be exemplified. If you have anything in mutable signs, it's going to be kind of tense. If you have anything in earth signs, it will flow more in that, and then the varying fire and air will be, difference depending on where they are, because they're right on either side of it, right? So you got the quincunxes and the semi-sextiles. So it kind of doesn't really bother those. Okay, but anyway, that's the big part of that. Um, Saturday. And then Sunday, mainly a lot of moon energy. Just coming into moon is moving into Cancer, getting more, getting closer to its conjunction there with Jupiter about a day later. It'll be on Monday-ish. But moon loves to be in Cancer, right? So this is like really home and feeling and family and caring and um, acknowledging, nurturing, being nurtured, nourished. Um, I think with all the Virgo energy here, I think there's also a good time to start a health regimen, a new diet, getting your supplements in order, um, figuring out what you need and don't need, want and don't want, things, where are you now? We're coming into a change of seasons, both North and South Hemisphere, finishing up the summer and coming into fall, in the Northern Hemisphere and vice versa. So it's like, okay, clicking out of this and then into this. Definitely temperature changes, especially when you're going colder, require more planning. The body has to spend more energy to produce heat. So it's important to think of that. And about it. I think there's a couple of other things I wanted to mention to you. Oh yeah, so just enjoy the moon in Cancer. It loves to be there. It's nice place. So wherever you have Cancer in your chart, to nurture and pamper yourself. As it gets closer to Jupiter, it will be expanding. When every time now that for this, while the Jupiter is in Cancer and the moon comes around, it should be a nice space, but everybody who has cardinal signs, we're going to deal with this. We've got first off, as soon as it goes in there, it's got to make the square over to Neptune. So it could be What's the word I want? Um, Aggressively vague. It could be um, clearing up misconceptions, trying to see things clearly, trying to clear emotional disharmony. All right. Um, yes, and it hits Saturn as it's in late mutable signs. But yeah, I'm looking at the cardinal right now. And Meredith said it's going to love Jupiter, and then over to Mars when it gets late degrees, before Mars changes signs, it's going to be a little tense with Mars and relationships. Mars is still having to be real diplomatic. It's got to suck up. And then when the moon's here, it could be hard. So anyway, just a word of the wise, but it's good to maybe take a deep breath, count to four, and just know that the moon is going to change in a few hours. Go change the scene, go to the bathroom, have a drink of water, brush your teeth, and things will probably have changed. So coming up, though, we can look forward to as soon as Mercury, where's my head? Okay, as soon as Mercury moves on, it's going to be what we're looking for. It will then, as it nears the end of Virgo, it's going to oppose Saturn. So there could be next, right, probably later next week, we'll be getting that. So looking at a critical eye at things, um, looking to clean some stuff up, maybe that's in that Saturn area of your life. Where is Saturn in your chart? Where and how is it? And then now with it being in vague kind of Pisces, where can you self-forgive? Where can you move, intellectually move beyond places that you were stuck? Like where were you wounded? And, use the Virgo Mercury to enact, to put in the things to help get you out of any old Saturn cycles that aren't necessary anymore. Old karmic ties, old baggage, old ways of relating to yourself, old ancestral garbage that you're still hanging on to. So, as Mercury's getting closer to the end of Virgo, this is like the theme. So this is coming in. And again, it's not on all these dates. It's happening now. And then Mercury, he's going to change signs. It's going to go into Libra. It won't be quite as happy, but it's not so bad. It likes the fairness of it and the neutrality. And then it will oppose Neptune. So it's going to have to clear up crap there, right? It's got to deal with the Saturn and then the Neptune stuff, clear up that stuff, put it in order. But that's what we're doing. We're getting rid of now all of this old past karmic stuff to kind of put these things in place in our minds and our life and to move forward. And then it trines um, um, over to blah 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 Pluto. There we go. So when it's in Virgo, I mean, once it's in Libra, it's an air sign, so it's gonna trine, we're gonna kind of get this trine of air happening every time something comes into Libra now. It's gonna enact the Pluto and Uranus theme. Can you see that? See, Mars was there earlier when it was like those early degrees, right? But now we can see, let me just do this real quick, just to give you a little heads up. There it is. It's already not even a week. Okay, but so we have this grand air trine. Actually, I should do it days. And then the moon moves here, right? The moon. So like what by the 21st. So I have this by weeks. Okay, so by the 21st, let me go back a couple days. um, Mercury there, like on the 19th, on the 18th and 19th. Okay, so there we have that mercurial trine with Pluto and Uranus. So here we could get ready for some information from the depths, some things out of the blue, and then a couple, 3, 4, 5 days. Well, the moon goes through there, and then 22nd, the sun goes there. Then the sun is making that trine. So we have this whole area here being held in Libra, making trine to all this. So this is a big, heavy duty energy. It's big air trine. Um, so a lot of information. I would expect a lot of things in justice, maybe a lot of because we have all the Libra, the Sun, Mercury, Moon. You know, a lot of justice might be coming to light, a lot of communications, a lot of new way of communicating. I think a lot of things with AI. I think there'll be a whole bunch of maybe hopefully lies realized and cleared up, light shone on a lot of the lies that we've been told, with the sun and Mercury and the moon shining light in good cahoots here with Pluto, and Uranus being stir things up. And then Mars has just moved into a better place. It's like happy, happy. It's moved into Scorpio here. So it's going to, I'll get into this next week, but this is what we've got to look forward to, a whole big change of energy. All right, that is it coming up and more to follow. Thank you so much for listening, and bye for now.